that happened. I mean, oh my God. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I know I haven't posted in a little while, just because I've been kind of getting through stuff and making sure everything's good with jobs and other projects and stuff like that. So I've been a little busy, and I know I've made my update video, so I'm going to be trying to post regularly. Just depends on what content I'm deciding to do. But anyway, the point is, you came here for the Sixers. I'm going to be talking about the Sixers. I'm going to try not to edit a lot of this video, if not anything, just to kind of try something new, more of a free-form kind of style of talk, and to kind of just get my thoughts out there. I know that normally I edit my videos and I cut things up together really tightly, but this is just kind of a raw reaction. If you are living under a rock and didn't see what happened, then I'm going to tell you what happened, because the Sixers probably have just accomplished one of the worst choke jobs in Philly sports history by losing to the Atlanta Hawks in Game 5 at home, raucous Wells Fargo Center, and the Sixers choke a 26-point lead in Game 5 in a 2-2 tie. Now it's 3-2 Hawks. And I'm going to kind of talk about some stats and kind of get into the finer things, the numbers and things like that, and kind of the big overarching question that I kind of want to touch on is, can the Sixers win this series? Can they come back and win this series after really a demoralizing loss and a demoralizing way to kind of go down 3-2? Game 6 is going to be in Atlanta at the State Farm Arena, where I'm sure it's going to be rowdy. I'm sure it's going to be a tough environment for the Sixers to play in. But that's kind of the question to kind of, surmise this whole kind of looking at the numbers and kind of talking about some things. Can the Sixers come back from this, and can they win the series? So that's what I'm going to get into. So first thing I want to touch on is the first half. The Sixers looked good. They were cruising. They were really being able to do whatever they wanted, especially Joel Embiid and Seth Curry, and they're the two players that I'm going to praise throughout this video, because especially Joel Embiid, after going 0 for 12 in the fourth quarter against the Hawks in Game 4, everyone's like, what's up with Joe? What's happening with Joe? And he comes out and goes, I think starts 5 for 5, lights it up in the first quarter, career high, ties a career high in playoff history for him. 17 points in the first quarter. That ties a career high. So to see him come out, hit jumpers, get down low in the paint, body Clint Capella, who was talking some talk after Game 4. That was great to see. And he came out just like I wanted him to, a lot of people wanted him to, and he was able to be his dominant self once again. And he finished with a great game. We can talk about the end as well, kind of what happened there. But other than that, very proud of what Joel did. Seth Curry was hot in the first half. He continued that in the second half, and he was really their offense. Other than that, even in the first half, Ben Simmons didn't do anything. Tobias Harris didn't do anything. They got a couple buckets here and there from their bench, but really looking at the numbers, and I have my notes down on paper here. That's usually what I refer to here when I look down. But the first half was good. They were up by, I think, 22 points, 62-40 at the end of the first half. So you feel good. You feel good after the first half, and then the second half comes, and there's been a lot of talk about one thing in particular, the bench lineup, and that's what Doc Rivers has kind of been under some criticism for. And the bench lineup, at one point, I think during this series, he played an all-bench lineup. He's done that in the past in this playoff so far, but he has either Tobias Harris or Ben Simmons out there with them. And tonight, it just was not clicking. And to me, personally, most of the bench has been very inconsistent. You saw Shake Milton have a heck of a run in Game 2, but since then, he's been okay, but nothing really consistent that you've seen from this bench. Dwight Howard grabs rebounds, he's going to foul people. He missed a lob. So, for Dwight, he was, Dwight without, getting some points in the, for the Sixers. But George Hill struggled, missed a couple shots, missed a couple easy shots. Matisse Thybulle hit a couple threes, but other than that, the Sixers bench was inconsistent, and in the second half, it really showed. And Doc played that lineup, and I think Tobias Harris was out on the floor. At one point, Ben Simmons was out on the floor with the bench lineup, and they just couldn't do anything, especially in the second half. And that's where the Hawks took over. And one player in particular, Lou Williams. Lou Williams, the Sixers past, the ghost of Sixers past, comes back to bite him. He had 15 points in the game. He lit it up in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, third to fourth quarter. Lou Williams started to really get going. And that was a problem for the Sixers. They couldn't stop him. And the Hawks bench really was, I think, part of the difference in this game. If you look at the numbers, the Hawks bench outscored the Sixers bench 39-13. I mean, you just can't have that. You really can't have that. I think in a previous game in the series, at one point in the first half, it was the Hawks bench outscored the Sixers bench 32-0. I think that was game 2. I mean, that was just horrible. You just can't have that from your bench. Inconsistent, unreliable. So you need more guys to step up. I'm looking at Shake Milton. Tyrese Maxey only played 1 minute. Really didn't do much in that 1 minute. I mean, you can't really expect a lot out of the kid to get 1 minute and do a lot. But other than that, I mean, I just think that, that's a big problem, is the bench. And it needs to really, those guys need to step up in Game 6 on the road. And I don't know if they can, to be honest, because they've shown that they're, like I said, inconsistent. And will they be able to rise to the challenge and the occasion on the road in a win or go home? I don't know. I don't think so, probably. It really is very discouraging. Another thing I want to bring up, 2 things. The first thing is a stat brought to you by Amy Fadul of NBCSN. She's great. Love Amy. Her stat that she tweeted out earlier today was that the Sixers were 165-0. That's 165-0, no losses in 165 games, when leading by 25 points or more at any point over the last 25 seasons. 25 seasons. So if you do the math, that's, 1995, 1996. I mean, that's a long time. And a lot of games where the Sixers have had leads. And they weren't able to hold this one, obviously. And this is why I think this is part of the evidence why this is one of the worst choke jobs in Philly sports history. Because when you have that stat right there, I think that kind of proves it. So, yes, I know about the Kawhi shot. We all remember the Kawhi shot. I don't even want to think about the Kawhi shot right now because I'm just in my bag. I'm sad. And I don't want to think about that. But obviously that was a horrible loss, of course. But, I think this, in terms of a game as a whole, the situation in terms of being at home, and being up 26 points and blowing that, I think that they're 1A and 1B, especially with the Sixers right now. It's the worst choke job I've seen in Philly sports in my lifetime. So just want to put that out there, and I think most people can agree in terms of just choking the game. They did that. So another thing, and talking about the second half, we're kind of getting back to that. Joel Embiid and Seth Curry, kind of to go back to them and their play, they were the only 2 players, just those guys, were the only 2 players to make field goals in the second half. I mean, where is Tobias Harris? Where is he? Passing the ball. That's what he's doing. He's going back to what he did in the beginning of the season. He was passive, not being the attacker that he can be and driving the lane. He was very passive. I saw a conversation towards the end of the game with him and Doc Rivers, and I don't know what Doc Rivers said, but I saw Tobias. I read his lips, and if you're watching the broadcast, you could see he said, "I'm not pressing." Maybe Doc said something like, maybe you need to calm down and just shoot your shots. And then Tobias said, "I'm not pressing." I'm just speculating on what the conversation was, but I saw him say, "I'm not pressing." And it could also be on defense, talking about the situations. But I think in terms of what was happening on the court, Tobias Harris was not shooting, really passing up a lot of opportunities. And when he was shooting, he just wasn't converting. And you have those nights sometimes. I think Tobias Harris has been really good in this playoffs. The first round and the second round, he's been really good. So people who are coming at Tobias Harris, I understand it. Listen, I get it. He did not play well this game, but he's been great overall for the Sixers, and I trust that he's not going to have a bad game back-to-back because he's been too consistent of a player not to. And, you talk about the contract with Tobias Harris. Again, understandable. He's paid a lot of money for what he does, but I think he's had a fantastic season this year. He should have been an all-star. And, that's what I think about him. He's got to step up in Game 6, obviously. That goes without being said. But 4 points, I mean, just can't cut it. You got to have a third option. When you have Joel and Seth going off, that's great. But then you need another guy. You need a third guy to stabilize your scoring, especially when that third guy is out with the bench unit and seeing a lot of minutes. So Tobias Harris, not going to cut it. Next thing, the other guy, the guy that the Sixers fans are talking about now, probably still on social media, and that's one Ben Simmons, probably the most controversial, hot button topic athlete talking about Philly sports in general. Any athlete, you can name him. Ben Simmons is probably talked about more, positive and negative. He is beautifully frustrating, I like to say, because he does so many things well, so many intangibles well, but I mean, the free throw shooting's a problem. It's a big problem. People who said that it wasn't a problem are delusional, because it's a huge problem. He missed 10 free throws tonight. I mean, he's shooting, I think, around mid 30% in the postseason. I mean, that's just awful. That is awful. I mean, that is worse than awful. That is atrocious. In the regular season, they showed the stat during the broadcast that at one point he was shooting 67%, which honestly for him is fantastic. And to say that is like, that's 2 out of 3 every couple times, 4 for 6, which you take. And in regular season Ben Simmons, we've taken as Sixers fans. But yeah, he's been horrible. And I think it's a mental thing. And he mentioned that in his press conference. It is certainly a mental thing. So I don't know what's going on in his head. Is he a mental midget? Possibly. But yeah, I mean, that just can't happen. And that's part of the reason why the Sixers lost a lot of points. Obviously, there's going to be the hack-a-Ben strategy by Nate McMillan and the Hawks. And we've seen that happen time and time again throughout the series. We saw that with the Wizards and Scott Brooks. So overall, I think Ben Simmons is going to get continuously fouled. I'm scared for Game 6 because I know that they're going to foul him again. And honestly, it's kind of working. It's so annoying. It's so frustrating because it works most of the time. There is an occasion where he does hit both free throws and the crowd rejoices. And I think the crowd should have got Frosties for him hitting both free throws tonight. Honestly, seriously, that's a miracle in its own right. And that's amazing to say that because you're an NBA basketball player. How can you not shoot better than 40%? It's incredible. It is incredible. And listen, there's a lot of things, like I said, that we as Philly sports fans and we as Sixers fans respect in Ben Simmons' game. And I understand he's getting a lot of hate right now, and it's deservedly so. But, I would say, personally, it's not time to blow up the bus yet. It's not time to blow up the process. Everyone's like, the process is over, the process is done. First of all, the series isn't over yet. So it's not done yet. There's still potentially, I almost just spoke in there. There's one more game, definitely. There is potentially, knock on wood, 2 games left if the Sixers can somehow muster the ability to win a basketball game on the road. So, it's not time to blow up ship yet. Blow up the bus, blow up the ship, whatever you want to blow up. It's not time to blow it up. So I think that in order to, say those things as my air conditioning comes on, you're just going to have to deal with that. In order to kind of just think about blowing things up and just getting rid of all this stuff and trading Ben Simmons for Damian Lillard, which, I mean, listen, I understand. I do, but it's not time to talk about that yet. You have to focus on this team right now, and they're still in this series. This series is not over yet, although I think a lot of people do believe that it's over. So, and I also think that there's more to come from the Hawks. So I think overall, it's going to be a dogfight in Game 6. So who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, I think that the Ben Simmons thing is really frustrating because there's both positive points that people make who like him, and there's positive points that people make who don't like him. So you can see both sides, and it's frustrating. So let me know down below what you think of Ben Simmons. I'm sure there will be a lot of people who watch this who have their opinions on Ben Simmons. Next thing I want to touch on is just the fourth quarter. So we kind of touched on the second half. Now we're going to touch on the fourth quarter. The Sixers were outscored by the Hawks 40-19 in the fourth quarter. 21 points. They got outscored by 21 in the fourth quarter. after losing the third quarter by, I think, like 4. So they had a sustainable lead in going into the fourth quarter. The Hawks made a little run at the end of the third. I think there was about 2 minutes left in the third where the Hawks made a run. But the Sixers really were able to kind of just keep them at bay, and they had a sizable lead going into the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, they just couldn't make shots. And that goes back to Joel and Seth being the only 2 players to make shots. You couldn't get a production from anyone else. So there was really no answers, and the Hawks just came in and made a run in that fourth quarter and bulldozed the Sixers, just shocked the fans, shocked the crowd, and shocked everyone watching, because I don't think anyone believed that would happen. And it's crazy that the Sixers should have not in any way lost this game. Now, the way they played in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, they deserve to lose the game. I'll admit that. I will flat out admit that. The Hawks played a heck of a fourth quarter. Nate McMillan has done a fantastic job with this Hawks team, taking over. He's a great coach. So he gets the best out of his players. Trae Young, I think, had 39. He was kind of locked up in the penitentiary for a while. He was able to get his shots eventually and made some big plays. So credit to Trae Young. I mean, he made plays. And John Collins was also, a thorn in the Sixers side. I hate it, but he was a thorn, and he did a good job. And Clint Capella he kind of got bullied by Joel all day. But other than that, I mean, the question coming back to the beginning, have you stayed this long? I appreciate it. It means a lot. Again, unedited version. So you're just listening to me ramble, basically, after, literally witnessing this debacle. Can the Sixers come back? Can the Sixers come back? We got Game 6 in Atlanta. And Doc Rivers said in his presser tonight that he believes that there will be a Game 7. And of course, you obviously don't want to come out in your press conference and be like, yeah, this series is over. Like, of course, why would you say that? So for people who are being like, what is he saying? He's so cocky, they're gonna lose. He's trying to inspire confidence in this team that is probably at an all-time low this season, because this is a team that has had a lot of success, has really, everyone's been hyping up this team. I've been hyping up this team for good reason, because they earned that first seed, because they played fantastic basketball for the majority of the year. And now in this series, they're not playing great basketball. And credit to the Hawks. So do I think that the Sixers can come back? I think that they have the better team. I think that that's a, common thread that people agree on. The Sixers have the better team. They have better, veteran players, guys who have been there, higher end talent. But the Hawks have, the Hawks have the heart. The Hawks have the will right now. And they outwork the Sixers when it matters. So I think that that's something to kind of factor into Game 6 and potentially Game 7 if that happens. And the Hawks have bench depth, where the Sixers at times really don't. So I think that overall, with that kind of factoring in, it's really going to come down to, again, these last 2 games. The Sixers being able to make plays when it counts in the guts of the game in the fourth quarter. If they can do that, I think they can win the series. I really do. Even though the momentum is all on the Hawks side. Because the Sixers should have won Game 4, and they should have won Game 5. And the series should have been over. But here are the Hawks. Here are the Atlanta Hawks, 1 game away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So those are my thoughts. I think the Sixers have a chance. They have a chance. Listen. They have a chance. Believe. Maybe. Or don't. Or who cares what you do? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm rambling. I'm throwing a pen. This has been a wild video. I don't know what happened. I just rambled for about 20 minutes. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you are new, consider subscribing. That always means a lot. And that'll do it for me, guys. I'm about to go cry in the shower and listen to sad music all night long and get no sleep. Thank you for watching. I'll recap the series when it's over, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.